Hey everyone, welcome back to this video. We're going to look at some important aspects of Dying Light 2, good to know tips and tricks that you haven't heard anywhere else. This video is sponsored by my grandmother with this really important message: go get a real job, you motherfucking donkey. Okay, with that out of the way, Dying Light 2 and important facts, let's go. It's been nearly 7 years since Dying Light launched on the last generation of consoles, and in that time, this fledgling franchise has already made one hell of a name for itself. Despite stumbling out of the gates at launch, the first game has gone on to be something of a cult classic, one that is still supported by developers to this day. I mean, when was the last developer that you know about that supported a game for so many years? Impressive, and I hope they do the same for Dying Light 2. From the well supported, deeply refined base comes Dying Light 2, a new game set in a new world with a new protagonist that will apparently take about 500 hours to fully complete. It's something of a clean slate for the developer Techland, and in many ways, the studio has gone back to the drawing board in order to try and make this series even more appealing to games of all tastes. From what I've played so far, this new approach to the series is paying off for Dying Light 2. It's a playground full of white knuckled parkour moves, crunchy combat, and a story beats that can vary widely from player to player depending on the choices that you make. We have unfortunately been witness to multiple delays which have shuffled the game back in time once and again. But the time is almost here. On February 4th, the game will be released, and I can't wait to get my teeth into Techland's long awaited follow up to one of the last generation's biggest sleeper hits. So, a few days prior to the release, I've put together a quick rundown of the most important things you need to know about this zombie bashing epic game. You don't need to have played Dying Light 1 in order to get Dying Light 2. Whilst you'll definitely get more out of Dying Light 2 if you play the first game, it's not essential condition for entry for the new title. Dying Light 2 features a new protagonist, a new setting, and is set 15 years after the events of the first game. This means that the apocalypse has really had time to set in and, what do you say, ferment. The outcome of that is a new playground of Harran, which is a world used to fending off zombies, and a population adapting to this strange new world full of undead horrors and contagious diseases. This means, for us, we can go into the sequel knowing very little about the world of Dying Light and still have a good time. You, my friend, need to stay on your toes. The developer Techland has told us that there are thousands of animations in this game, twice as many as there were in the original game. This focus on fluidity and movement has inspired the game design quite a lot, leading Techland to create a city that's flushing with towering buildings and pillarous routes between them. There's many times throughout this video and other gameplay videos where I've just stood back and said, wow, this world is perfect for jumping around and avoiding zombies. You're going to encounter a lot of zombies and enemies that are strong for you to take on in the early game, so being nimble, knowing your escape routes, and choosing when to run away are all important, if not essential skills to master. You need to get used to melee combat. Harran, where the game is set, is a fictional European city with a lot of history to it. A large part of it, the in-game lore, is dedicated to telling you why there are few guns knocking around. You don't tend to see many firearms in European cities, do you? What this means from a gameplay perspective is a renewed focus on melee combat and hand-to-hand battles, learning how to use knives, poles, baseball bats, and whatever else is key to survival in this city. And survival won't be easy. You'll be fending off the living or the dead. You're going to need to become proficient with your body sharpies if you want to make it through one of those long-lasting terrifying nights. And you're thinking, why the nights? I'm going to tell you a little bit later in this video. Keep an eye on the clock. Always. Speaking of which, there's a reason this game is called Dying Light 2. There's a day and a night cycle that you're going to need to pay close attention to if you want to get the best gear or access the most dangerous places with a little bit more security. During the day, the streets are generally a bit safer, letting you get around the city more easy, but zombies hurtle indoors away from the sun's deadly UV rays. At night, they'll pack the streets, making it harder for you to get around, but letting you infiltrate their lairs and pillar the most profitable route without much risk. So, my advice to you: be aware of time and plan your actions accordingly. You don't want to end up trapped in the middle of the street or in a mall at night. And about getting stuck in malls, don't forget to sneak. In the first game, stealth wasn't a particularly variable option. Sure, you could try and sneak around bandits and zombies, but more often than not, it was far more efficient just to slice and dice your opponents in a flurry of knives and arrows. Now, though, updated AI and a skill tree more suited to stealth play means that you can opt to sneak around the clamoring undead and assassinate them, if that's more your playstyle. Say, for example, you're finding a story mission or a side mission a bit too tricky, then maybe a more silent approach could be just the thing you need in order to progress and level up until you become more powerful. I just pulled up the requirements quickly to have a look at what the game needs to run and the recommended specification, and keep in mind this is for 1080p at 60 fps. Now we know a lot of people want to run at ultra wide or even higher resolutions, but 1080p is going to require an RTX 1060 or a Radeon Vega 698 gigabyte. Of course, you have to put it on an SSD in order to not limit that. The minimum requirements are a little bit unrealistic. Who's going to play this game at 30 frames per second on PC? That's just no. Alright guys, so that's what I had for you today. These 5 tips from Dying Light 2. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm pretty new at this. As you can hear, the video and audio quality are probably really shit. But if you liked it, please leave a thumbs up. And if you didn't like it, please leave a thumbs down. And let me know in the comments why, how I can improve and how I can get better. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.